everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. On this episode, we're going to be talking about scaling up, how UK businesses can thrive in the Middle East. Yes, we're going back to Dubai and the Middle East area in terms of topics. I am joined today by Shay and Nick. Say hi.
Hello.
Before I begin, as always, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. And if you find it in your good hearts, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Mr. Bobble Official. So, Nick, Shay, thanks for joining me. We had a very eventful, successful, I was, honoured to be part of the VeUP MENA launch.
Yep.
But let's start with yourself, Shay. Give us a quick breakdown of who you are, bit of VeUP, and how we know each other.
I'll also highlight it was a very busy trip, Manny.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. My name's Shay Carroll. I'm a former founder of a company. So I founded and scaled a business over around 5 years. Off the back of that, I've inadvertently ended up in a role where I work for a company called VeUP. So VeUP are a cloud provider. So we work primarily with AWS companies. But really what I'm here to do is support them from a venture perspective. And what I mean by that is not the great experiences being a founder, the difficulties. We have quite a few things that we do with these businesses, but basically we invest a lot of time up front in their growth. And we cover things, standard reseller things that you would expect. But the thing that's unique about VeUP are our links to venture and our links to enterprise, because they're the two things that as a founder, or having been a founder, tend to be the hardest things to get into. So we obviously met on the trip to MENA, which is part of our Gateway program. So helping to support businesses who are looking at internationalization and not knowing where to start.
Fantastic. And Nick Halliday.
Yeah, so I'm a founder of two businesses and a supporter and investor in 10, and 8 of them are still around.
You run the IDS group, right? Yeah,
so IDS group is the company I've been running for 12 years now, which is a software company, but it's a supporter of integration works for sort of blue chip, big, large businesses. But we take the skills that we learn and the team that we build from the book of the enterprise clients, and then we use those skills to work with and support usually B2B SaaS systems, business systems, and we've done pretty well at supporting a few of those. Some have gone to America and other places, and then after a while of advising and sitting as founder and working with scale-ups and startups, people would go, how many of these have you done? And I'm like, well, I've worked with a lot, but I haven't done that many myself. And VeFile was the one where I decided to eat my own cereal. And VeFile is an infrastructure software product, so it collects data, manages data across the full cycle of an asset, an action, an activity, a material. It measures the performance and the improvements. So one of our clients is Drax Power. Drax Power obviously run power stations, but they have lots of different assets. One of those assets was large-scale boilers that they break down every 3 months and build back up every 3 months. And they have to check in and check out all the different parts that go into that. And they run these things with engineers that have been very experienced engineers that have been working in those industries for 25, 30 years. And what they really want to do is capture that intelligence and that knowledge so that they're actually adding more future-proof to those jobs. And VeFile helps them capture that and then also improve on systems and processes that they've used for 30 years and not changed very much, usually because of regulatory.
If I didn't know about power and data, I think now we do. But we met, we've known each other for a while anyway. Mm-hmm. We've known each other for a while. We were at the Climb event together. I topped the F1 simulator.
Well, it's slightly controversial, this.
Really? I mean,
so genuinely, he actually did. The number of terms terms you took is in question.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure, and I'm definitely not going to name names, but I think you actually beat a real racing driver. Didn't you?
Yes, I did. I did beat
Who
a
was
racing
it?
driver.
No, you
Hamilton?
can't.
I can't say.
Oh, no.
Can't say.
It wasn't Hamilton.
And I did beat a professional simulator driver as well.
Well,
he said he said he had a setup at home. That's all I'm saying. I was like, mate, I just saw it and I played. But that was my F1 knowledge.
Yeah, you were pretty good.
But one of the best things in terms of immersive experiences at Climb, in terms of marketing, was actually doing that, and that's what I love about VeUP is you think out of the box, and as you said earlier, it's good. So yeah, we were in MENA, and you guys announced your partnership, which is great. Again, we'll share this on social media. So tell us a bit about how that partnership came about with yourself, Shay.
So a lot of the core things that we do when we first work with a business are simple things to us, like cost optimization. So we have a lot of senior former AWS solution architects who can lean in and start to help with how you build the foundations for your platform and get it right.
Yeah.
We can then lean in for that, and we can give people further access that's limited to a point in terms of technical support. And then from that, we help people to grow in revenue. But quite often we'll come across a business that's at a point of confusion as to what to do in-house, what to outsource, how to do it, which is further than the involvement we'd normally have as a business. And that's where we tend to work with the likes of IDS. So you maybe summarise what you guys do.
Yeah. So the reason this partnership really worked for IDS is VeUP are actually providing the support that you need in the cloud infrastructure. And for years, we've been encouraging our founders to only build what they absolutely need to build as their product for their IP. The rest of the tools they can use and manipulate to help them scale. Because if you build products from the start, the expensive part starts to kick in when you start scaling or integrating or making those things secure and stable. Whereas cloud solutions are a good way of providing a lot of those tools to build the bedding for it. So naturally, VeUP are managing, if you like, those companies into a growth pattern. Yeah. They're saying, right, your next stage through managed services is this. Now work with a partner that can help you get the benefits out of your product and that. And we're a product specialist. So
do you know what the interesting thing, and I think it comes back to both of you two, it's understanding the drivers of a business and what you need to do to scale, how much resource you should put into things. And that's the kind of the expertise that we look to try and glean from the people we work around. It's not just, here is some expertise around software. You guys both run businesses, we're working closely with you guys, and it's for that reason. You understand what the drivers of a business are.
Every business is different with what resources it's got inside and what it needs as a product and what its clients need. So you can't just cut one route.
So it's been good for us, and which leads on to the next few questions that we'll get from James. And the team is, so people know about my Bobble Insights platform. They don't know too much about it. I've explained the main concept of it. You know it in detail because we talked about it. But and so this whole relationship from Climb UK actually came quite useful because I was like, right, currently in Azure, I want to move out. Looked at AWS, but then realized actually through the IT solutions architects that actually we don't need to build as much as I think I need to build because the product's in a position where it now needs the AI capabilities of it. So I was like, hang on. And Shay was like, but Manny, why do you need to build all this? Why don't talk to, I won't mention his name, but it's like one of the IT solutions architects, he'll already tell you what exists on the market. And then you build the bits that are missing. Never thought of it that way. Yeah. Would never have considered it that way. And
because you get hooked up in IP, right?
Yeah,
you're like, oh no, it needs to be all me,
all like this, because that's what you might think. And I've run a normal business, but I've never run a tech company. It's a completely different kettle of fish. But I have a great product, which is obviously backed by some key people in terms of those on my advisory board, and they can see the potential of this. So we've now joined your gateway program, which means Bobble Insights will be, cloud service by AWS. Through that, we'll get support from IDS Group when we start getting the pain points of, look, I've got an investor here, I've got a venture fund here that want to invest. I need your expertise to help me guide through who is the right partner for me, make sure I'm a good founder, and it's not a bad product, or I become a good product and a good founder in that sense. But then you were going out and launching your Middle East operation, and you invited IDS Group on, obviously because of Elements, and I just tagged along. Realistically, because we were at a Connect Yorkshire event. We were at a Connect Yorkshire event and mentioned it, it was coming up, Yeah,
and you were coming up, I was like, what days are these? And I went, mate, I'm in Dubai. I was like, why don't we just meet up.
Yeah.
But I think it became probably one of the most fun but insightful trips I've done to Dubai, because you remember us being in the DIFC and I just had my hand on my head and I was like, oh, I should have done this earlier, because I had literally realised I overspent on setting up on my company. Because even though we did it mainland, and I'm glad I did it mainland, but without having that insight to all those incubators out there, it was good. So my first question is, the business landscape in the Middle East, and what opportunities do you both see out there?
I mean, for me, and it'd be interesting, obviously the reason we're out there is because we've put the investment into going out there and exploring. It wouldn't be a gateway program if we hadn't gone and established ourselves first. But now, obviously, with this initial trip with you guys, we're looking to get insights from you. So I was thinking about this after the trip and I was reflecting on it, but a couple of the things that I think were interesting, I'd be interested to know your thoughts, if I'm honest. But the three that I thought were accessibility to investment. Yeah. For me, the landscape, I was pretty blown away by that. The second one was the free zones. I'd be really interested to see what you guys think from a business perspective on that. And the other surprise for me was that the incubators are also well established. It's like 10 years plus, but the kind of startup economy and opportunity seems to be now. But those three things were my observations, having been formerly a founder of a business. But it'd be interesting from you guys actually running businesses, what you think of those. So
I said this out there, and I think it was quite interesting to hear the questions you were asking and the questions you were asking with these incubators. But I was looking at it as an absolute startup novice into tech. I'd already established myself in the UAE, so I knew how the market worked, but not to this level in terms of investment in tech, because Bobble, which is the agency, didn't need that. It just needed to service its clients in the UAE, and it just needed physical presence, a bit like what you guys have done in the Middle East. But from a tech perspective, I was like, oh, wow. So the cost perspective, so in 5, which was one of the incubators, which I was really blown away with, which you have to apply and they choose you. That's how difficult it is.
So this is Dubai.
This is in Dubai. It's like 1,000 dirhams, which is put in perspective is like 250 quid a month for a hotspot. I think your visa is 3 years, not 2 years, and you can have up to 4 per person. Yearly license, business license.
I know, we were finding out the agents that were advising us all were giving us completely different costs.
So when I went into Dubai, it cost me around about, in terms of UK pounds, between 8 to 10 grand to fully set up. That's going out there, that's getting my visa, my blood test and everything done, the company setup done, the virtual location, right? But if I had done it through, let's say, DIFC, or if I came as a tech company, would have probably cost me £1,000.
Bit more, I reckon. Probably about 2 or 3.
Yeah, when you add in travel, think about, just in the company setup, because it would have been 250 quid for the license, and that's fixed for 2 years. Yeah. And then it's 250 quid a month. So when you add it over 12 months, and then the visa was like 2,500 dirhams for like 3 years, that is very cost effective. So you can set up a fully fledged in an incubator, access all the facility and stuff for around about, let's say, max 3 to 5 grand. And be established out there, but then get access to the entire network. And then when you add on...
If they accept you.
Yeah, that's if they accept you.
If they accept
but then when you add on the levels of VeUP and IDS, it just becomes a bigger play. So that was one of the key things I found, was meeting all the incubators. We met DIFC, we met N5, we met Dubai Silicon Oasis, which I thought was a really, really good one.
It's impressive.
But a bit far out compared to where the other ones are based.
That was the one I joined. Did you realise that's the one IDS have joined? Yeah. Every file are looking at Hub 71.
Yeah, Hub 71, which is Saudi Arabia. Not Saudi Arabia, sorry, Abu Dhabi. Which is where your offices are based. So it's I didn't join the Saudi Arabia element to it, because obviously I was only going to the UAE. You guys have spent a couple of days out there. But what do you see as the opportunities from the 2 days that we had?
So from an IDS perspective, from a supplier to startups, incubators, growth businesses, all of those independent accelerators have partnerships with companies to help their members. The fact they interview them, they charge them money to go on, and then they decide whether they think they're going to succeed. It means they take their support really seriously. So we were greeted with massive open arms there. Whereas, if I speak to VCs in this country or accelerators and I say, look, we've got a fair lot of experience here turning companies around or working with companies into growth. Do you want us involved in it? They're like, no. We need to keep it as cheap as possible to get the deal through, and that's their worry is finding the services. We'll give them a few names. These guys, they rule it a bit differently. They go, no, here's who you should use. Here's how it should work. So for me, it was like we're more structured, we're more invested from their point of view. I was blown away by Hub 71, to be fair. I thought that was... Yeah, that really was. They were like the pinnacle of... what did they have, 7,000 applicants?
Yeah.
And they take on
it's very
70 or
It's
something.
interesting. You guys found Hub 71 very attractive. I found Inner 5 as a tech element more attractive.
From a founder, that's interesting because from an IDS perspective, they were all interesting.
Yeah.
But the ones that made it harder for you to get in were the ones that IDS kind of related to. Yeah. From an Evifile perspective, the ones that were harder to get in, so as a founder, I was really keen on as well. And yet it was Thomas in 5 that convinced me that in 5 was the place to be, not necessarily their network. But I thought in 5 and Hub 71 were way more advanced than the other two.
So that's why I'm moving Bobble Digital into DIFC, because it's just the location and the HubSpot facilities. But now, by this trip, the benefit that's come from it is by partnering with VeUP and being on the gateway and the access we get to AWS, including everyone we met from AWS on the launch party, is the consideration now is Bobble sets up the tech build arm of Bobble Insights in the Middle East, and the sales team, because the agencies are mainly here in the UK. So the sales operation and the account management operations here, but the tech arm, because of all the opportunities out there, gets built out in the Middle East instead.
It's an interesting thing, and not to miss off the garage in Riyadh. Obviously, IDS were there as well. Yeah. So that was in Saudi, and that again is a different thing.
Different again, wasn't it?
The point I would make is that it depends on the type and stage of business that you're at as to which one might fit you better, and a lot of it's down to personal as well. Like where would you like to live? And I think there's so many things that you need to take on, and without actually going there, I don't think you can describe what you learn to understand there without actually going and immersing yourself. And I don't think you can work out what's best for your business until you've actually been there and explored them all. I mean, we covered, was it 7 incubators?
100%. Every single incubator we went to went, hang on a minute.
But we had really good questions. So you talked about the types of free zones as part of your question, which was actually what we learned is you can implement UK law to your contracts in the UAE.
Yeah.
For the incubators. And DFC kind of said that's unique to them. But then when we went to Inner 5 and asked the question, well, actually, how does it work? And it was like, no, you can just say, you can jump on that.
And some allow you to work with others as well. You don't have to work with one free zone. So just because you're in a DFS or a DSL.
But when you look at the type of companies in each individual incubator hub, and the caliber of those companies and how quickly they've grown, that's what's mostly appealing as well. It's like, my tech would go well with all these companies. I mean, DIFC said, well, no, we've got this whole space. So if you want to do a workshop for everyone, we'll host it, we'll give you the space and just do it. It's all completely different in terms of how it is from the UK.
And the introductions. They committed to giving you introductions. Didn't they?
Yeah.
So
on one condition, and I think this was clear across the whole of the trip, you need to be there. Yeah. You need presence. And I think that is the one really compelling thing that I learned from every single region we went to is if you're going there, you are committing there. Yeah. There's not you're going to put one foot in, maybe try and get the benefits of the region by looking like you're going to have a presence. You are in. And I was blown away by the networking perspective in terms of everything is done face-to-face. If you're going to progress, this is my interpretation of what I saw. You're in face-to-face meetings, you might have WhatsApp groups and maybe video calls, but I think if you're really going to progress out there and get the most from the region, the main compelling thing I got from that region is you've got to be there, or you've got to have a presence from there in your company that is 100% committed to the region, was my understanding.
So what do you guys see as the opportunities in the Middle East against what's currently available here in the UK? We're talking a lot about how good these incubator hubs were, the benefits and values, not just from you in terms of establishing out there, but from an IDS perspective, but also from a founder's perspective. But how does that compare to the UK now with your experience?
I mean, for me, I think by the time this goes out, there will have been a budget announcement. I'm not sure where we'll be with that, but the economy and the support.
Never heard of it. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I'm trying not, and I'm not a political person, but but obviously when you're running a business, there's a lot of factors in and around running that, and most of it is related to cost and support for the ecosystem. And it feels out there like they are investing really heavily in that, and it's a committed investment. And that, for me, you've got what seems like a buoyant economy out there, but you need to learn the kind of levers into getting in there. And the other thing for me is the number of international startups that we saw when we were out there who are moving into that region. And this is from NAMA or North America all the way through Europe. I mean, I was staggered to see the number and quality of businesses that are moving there. Yeah. So they were the three real take-homes for me in terms of what's going on. But yeah, why is that quality of company just choosing to move there out of regions that we know to have been really well established over the years? And it's not, when I was running a business, we didn't even think about it, if I'm honest.
And I'd reiterate that their environment for supporting businesses moving there, particularly startups, tech businesses, is more aligned with the American way of doing things than it is the UK. So I'd say that if you want to grow fast and money's less of an issue, that's the place to be.
Middle East.
Middle East. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because the way they talked about introducing you to the wealth, definitely face to face, by the way, was much more. This is, we're waiting for you guys to come through. If you go past those first gates of assessment, if you get accepted into an accelerator, if you get accepted into the free zone, we have a responsibility to make sure that you do the best you can while you're here for our economy. So obviously...
Yeah, because when we look at the stats of the success rates of how many businesses were still going in different incubators, you guys, I didn't know this, but, you had yourself and Andy and saying, are these numbers, you questioning the numbers? And I was like, is that a good thing, a bad thing? But you were like, even in the Uber trips between one to the other, it was a big focal point.
So if you just put those two things together, you put the fact that they're a more American attitude, it seems like they're giving the money, fail fast type thing. Yeah. And yet the amount of businesses still going after 5 years is getting those percentages. Yeah. They're higher percentages in the UK, but they're going at it more aggressively than the UK. So...
But all our experiences in the UAE, I'd say except mine here, because I've been out there since May 2023. So I know, Shay, you have experience in the UAE. But based on your own experience, what do you think is going to be the good and the bad compared to the UK? So we're talking about how UK businesses can thrive in the Middle East. So what benefit they're going to get from being out there compared to here?
So to be clear, me personally, I don't have experience in UAE. So I went out there, the company does. So we have a lot of people established out there. Yeah. So being completely straight with you, I don't know enough about the good and the bad to be able to give you an educated response. I genuinely think you'd be better armed to answer that question.
The main thing I've kind of learned is, with each country, it's not all, it's not all just everything looks pretty, etc. Mm-hmm. There are problems with the UAE. There's a lot of fakers out there. You see less in Abu Dhabi, but you see more in Dubai. So you've got to be careful who you introduce to Circle. Cash is king. Payment terms can be very, very, very slow. So let's say in the UK, we bill at the end of the month for 7 days. In the UAE, I bill up front. We don't start the work until the money's in. So, because that was advice given to me of people that have run highly established companies out there saying, Manny, they'll commit to work, but it can be slow coming through. And that can impact the running if you've got wages and you invested into infrastructure out there. So I'd say some of the bad things in terms of elements. But the good things is everybody wants to earn money. Everybody wants to work hard. It's a work hard, play hard attitude. It's I love it, and it sounds brutal, but it's like, what do you do? All right, how can you help me? Right, no, I don't need that.
Yeah,
this is what
true.
I do. Right, next person.
Yeah.
Right, what do you do?
Yeah.
All right, how can you help? Okay, no, I might know someone who needs that. Okay, let's have.
But they
It's
immediately
literally
then
fast.
go on.
Yeah, so literally onto that.
Yeah.
And we did this at your launch party, which we did in downtown.
Sunken Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the amount of people I connected with, and I met one lady, and she was like, no, you need this, and you need to hire this person out here. You need physical presence, talking about it. So she goes, I know a few people. Right, here's my details. Drop me an email for them. Like, literally, that's how quick it works. And these aren't even people that you know. It's the first time you've met. So everybody understands. There's almost like a business consensus that everybody agrees to. Is like, we're here for business.
Yeah.
The other major difference is when they introduce you on WhatsApp, and you literally get a phone call the following day.
Yeah.
There's none of this set.
Yeah.
Send an email,
Yeah.
let's organise our
Video
diaries,
calls are
let's
quite
speak.
rare.
Don't
Yeah.
care
Just
about
happens,
virtual
yeah.
business cards or anything like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
what's your
more
WhatsApp, what's your
free-flowing.
email?
Yeah.
Let's go straight into it.
It's a great way to do business from my perspective. I mean, I'm 42 now, and I remember like not pre-technology, but back in the day when a lot of business was done by phone, meeting face to face, and it was an effective and it was quite an enriching way to work, just being around people and socialising a lot more. And I think nowadays there's a lot less of that. There's a lot more isolation in the way that you kind of network and build. So I actually really liked it. I'm not sure if that's an age thing.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I thought that's what I love about Dubai or the UAE in general, is whether I'm in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, is that it's face to face.
Yeah.
And that means traveling and not spending more time on your laptop doing actually work. But as a founder, that's where you need to be. You need to be having these conversations, showing the tech off, having a meeting with people.
I think to keep it real, though, when you're making these decisions, I mean, there's America. It's a great market in America. There's other places where businesses end up focusing. But with the UAE, the way that we've kind of embraced it from a founder perspective is, how easy is it to set up? Well, as we're finding, there's comparisons with cost, but it is really quite easy.
Thanks to VeUP.
Yes. Thanks to VeUP.
Yes, definitely. Thanks.
How much did you get embraced? Well, that depends on who you know. Now, I wouldn't have gone to... I have contacts in America. We have clients internationally. We've had clients in the UAE.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily jump and go and move there. But the fact that if you get plugged in with a few of these support, in which the free zones are designed around that, they plug you in, then you'll get embraced. You get embraced far more than you would in North America, or where else would I recommend? Well, I suppose I've worked in South Africa as well. Yeah. So you have as well.
I haven't worked in South Africa.
No. South Africa, Cape Town embraced you. Yeah. But I mean, if you work in other parts of Africa, it's tough going, and the travelling's scary as well.
Yeah. So, why is the time now to scale in the Middle East? Why not in 5 years' time, for example? So we were talking about this, and we're not political, but politics plays a key part in it. I talked about this in a previous episode in terms of why I should consider leaving the UK, just from a personal perspective or from a career perspective. Don't know if you know about Danny Buck and his tweet that went viral, and that was around the budget and capital gains tax going from 20% up to potentially 39%. Is that incentivized for us to kind of want to set up a business here in the UK anymore? So why is the time now to go to the Middle East? Why would you say that instead of waiting in 5 years' time?
I mean, like on a personal level, it's a very safe place. Like everywhere you go, you feel very safe, and a lot of people reflect on that. I think it's naive not to say that tax isn't a reason. Like if you can pay less tax but benefit from infrastructure that feels pretty secure and sound, and in some ways more progressive. And I'm not trying to speak badly of the UK here. I've been a founder here, supported by lots and lots of the ecosystem here, and I'm a massive champion of the UK and Ireland. But it does. There's something instinctively, you kind of start to trust your gut a bit as you move on in business, and out there is a sense of like excitement, and I do feel that there is.
You feel it as soon as you go, and you kind of feel the buzz in the air.
You speak to people, you're seeing the opportunities, but this isn't chat. It evolves into actual opportunities, start to progress, and we're seeing amazing traction in that region after putting in a similar level of to that we do in the UK in Ireland, in EMEA, in NEMA. You know, we are established and emerging in all those regions.
Why do you think now, though? Why do you think it's happening now? I mean, I've got an opinion. But...
Yeah, well, I get a sense, especially in Riyadh, that there's a lot of investment coming in. As in, there is a lot of investment coming into it. And I don't think that's just across business. I think you can see that in sport. You can see that in a lot of other things that are happening out there. And there does seem to be a particular appetite for it now. Do you want to be part of something when it's emerging, or do you want to be part of something when it's established? I'd always opt to be there when it's emerging, because you tend to get more benefit from that. So that would be that. I'd say it's the emerging versus established argument.
I'd say Dubai's not emerging. Dubai has really pushed, you know, and they've focused on technology and property and investment, etc. And they've done really well, but it was a little bit like Wild West, I think, if you go back 5 years or definitely 10 years.
Yeah.
And then the places that are kind of behind Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and then Riyadh have watched what's gone on and tried to go, right, well, this is what's good about it. This is, you know, so they've already had that time to learn and adopt what is good that Dubai has delivered. But more importantly, there's a perfect storm going on over there. The perfect storm comes from they're looking different areas from their fuel, because they're moving away from traditional oil, etc. But so the renewables market out there is quite interesting.
Yeah.
The tech market is where they're trying to move into to diversify.
Yeah.
And then their infrastructure and property is all going like that. So it means that the whole region, not just because usually the regions are broken up a little bit more, the whole region's moving in the same direction, and they've learned lessons from Dubai that went really quickly and started to adopt in the other regions. So for me, there's a perfect storm going on there.
But I was watching this video clip of Sheikh Zayed, and he was like, well, we looked at what was good around America, London, Europe, Asia, and we brought the best parts to the UAE, to Abu Dhabi, not the bad parts. And you see that with the infrastructure and the buildings and the business elements they have. For me personally, in terms of like, I just think we're stuck with a government that I don't think is business friendly, and that's my honest opinion. I think we were talking about this, is like everything they're going to introduce to businesses, which is to target the bigger companies to pay more, but it's a blanket law for everyone. So as long as you're a limited corporation, I fall in the same category, even though I've only got 6 employees, as someone with 6,000 employees. So I have to pay the same tax percentage as them. It's not broken down by elements. We don't get any different support. We get branded essentially as a big company because we're limited. That's how we get treated as. There's no individualization towards that. Or support. There might be some grants and elements here and there that you have to be within a certain threshold, but they're so complicated in the UK to apply for and do it. But that's why I was saying to you, because now we're part of the VeUP program, I'm like, well, VeUP are in the UK, in America, Europe, Middle East, and now going in South Africa. I'm like, no, I've got access globally to this tech product. And that's only because of VeUP in terms of cloud interface and the benefits I'm going to get with AWS. And then the wider benefits of the relationships with IDS is great, because I'm thinking, no, that's what I'm thinking. Actually, no, why not set up my tech in the Middle East? I don't have to set it up here. It's going to cost me a lot more money here, and there's no incentives or relationships or like elements. So, for example, in Abu Dhabi, one element was they were saying at Hub 71, it's like, why don't you talk to the university? They would actually potentially fund your AI build, but you've got to hire students eventually when they come out of university into your company. I'd 100% do that. You know what I mean? Like, because it reduces cost, but I'm not going to get that incentive in the UK.
I did get those incentives and benefit from a lot of grants like that throughout my journey. And one thing that we were also doing when we were out there is connecting people into this region. So I kind of feel like when I was answering the question around why now is the time, I kind of started to abandon the UK and Ireland, which I haven't. I do still think it's an amazing economy to be part of. But I think
it's less about the time in the UK pushing you, that it just is. There's a magnet there for their time seems to be coming.
Or breaking it down as you have into perhaps have this element of my business here. That's going to benefit and get access to a market. And I mean, any founder who is scaling is always looking to scale into normally North America,
Yeah.
or MENA, and I think that's more and more. And I think they're all getting closer to each other and more comparable. But yeah, I do have to agree that there is that sense over there that there seems to be a bit more support and opportunity for businesses at the moment.
And that's only going to benefit them economically, because then it's like, and this is what, if we can clip this is what I'd say is, don't force great UK tech products out of the UK, which is what you're doing. You're forcing us out because it's just not affordable, and you're making it unaffordable, which means we talked about how many, and you talked about how many when we were out there. How many investors are trying to get into the Middle East to give their money away compared to the UK? So
we work with a number of angels because of the types of advice we give. We naturally, the angels or the Neds, ask for our advice as well. I know they're looking outside of the UK to put their money.
Yeah.
And it's like, already,
Yeah.
Well, at least wait and find out. They might not.
No.
It's like, no. They've set a precedent. They've made it known that they're not going to value what we bring, so we're going to invest it elsewhere. I was like, wow.
Well, I think, that's a big telling story in itself. Is like, that shouldn't happen, because the UK is great.
Yeah.
And like, my product is perfect for the UK because there's tens of thousands of agencies just in the UK alone. Forget America or the world, digital marketing agencies and general marketing agencies. So my product is perfect for the UK. Whereas the agency world isn't that established in the Middle East. There are some big players out there, but it's not like the UK. So it's almost like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because it's like, no, you're hampering me from growing, but if I do this here, I'm going to grow quicker, which means more jobs, more money into investment, which means better wages, better benefits and stuff. So it's a tough decision. We're not politicians, but we can give advice and feedback. But for me, I think because we are stuck with this government, it makes sense to push the Middle East more in the next 5 years, while still
For
retaining...
you personally or generally?
For both, Bobble Digital and Bobble Insights. For me, it's waiting what comes out of the budget, but I think it's very, very telling. And that's what I mean. It's like, I'll focus less on the UK and I'll go into the emerging market, which is the Middle East, because I think that's where the best return on investment will come from.
Which is quite alarming when you think about it.
Yeah. But I hope...
To be clear, we're not turning our back on the UK.
No. We're just saying I'm less... If it stays as it is, I'm less incentivized to push money.
But look at it this way. If we do well over there, which I expect we do, it makes the business stronger here too. Because there's competition, right? So regardless of who's in power and the rules they do, if the rules are the same across the board, everybody's going to struggle the same. And what will end up happening, unfortunately, is they'll put a lot of businesses out of business. When there isn't business to do here, looking outside is the way that companies of our size still can grow when markets are shrinking.
So
the market will shrink.
The Department of International Trade should come in, because we're not part of the European Union anymore.
No.
There's nothing stopping the UK identifying the Middle East as an emerging market and getting involved in these incentives for small businesses, providing that, they support the UK side of it, so the UK doesn't feel like it's losing everything to the Middle East or investment. Create a bridge that can be crossed in both directions.
Very good.
Absolutely.
That would be the smart way to do it, is saying, look, we can see that we have to do this, but let's create a bridge to where there's loads of opportunities to make cash flow from one country to another country better, so that they're not going out there and just moving their tech out there. They're getting the benefits of it out there.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't have
because to be clear,
time to do it.
Me and my businesses and the businesses that I advise, they're opening up in other markets, but they're not leaving the UK. But how much growth and how much shrinkage there is in where the businesses are based will depend on a lot of the government choices.
Yeah.
Because less investment will go in, less push,
Yeah.
And if it carries on like that and the market does shrink to an extent, that's when people will make choices that they don't want to, which is to leave the UK and move to those other markets.
Yeah.
So
I agree with Shay. I think I call it the land of opportunity, the Middle East. Not just like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, but the whole region is like a land of opportunity. And if you can be smart about it and you can partner with the right people like we're doing, you can really tap into what the opportunities are. And I've always said this is broaden your horizons. Have a look at how other countries are doing it. You can take a lesson from that and apply it to your company here in the UK. But for us, it's been the biggest eye opener from a tech founder perspective in terms of like, okay, but I think what the government needs is more people like you to, bridging gaps and creating relationships and having taking that risk and going out and investing heavily in and taking UK companies out there. Like I said, not abandoning the UK, but showing them other opportunities to grow their companies globally and not just here, and open up my mind to other opportunities and possibilities where I'm thinking, is this affordable in the UK? But no, actually, this part is affordable because it fits the tech elements in the Middle East and the benefits of building that. But then I can keep the sales team here in the UK, where all the agencies are. So my customers are here, but I can build the tech there. And that bridges the world a bit more in terms of where you could go in terms of as a tech product, because you've already then got an international, an arm or an international presence as you're growing, which might be potentially more attractive to VCs.
Just to be clear, Manny, I don't think we need more than one of me.
Yeah, and I don't think they need more than one of me.
No, they broke the mold.
Yeah.
They broke the mold.
Yeah. No, but we did have a good time out there. And the last thing I want to talk about is like, I was only part of this because I kind of literally forced my way on at Connect Yorkshire from my catch up. But the whole breakdown of what you guys did was really good, really well thought out, where we were going to be, time, scales, meeting with people, the introductions we had. And I really hope you turn this into an actual product that people can get on board with, paying and actually, get involved and actually do it again. Yeah. I think now that you guys are more established out there, we should definitely push out as a product or a service that you do to help businesses showcase what the opportunities are.
I highly recommend. Yeah. Well, I've already listed people I think need to be doing that.
Yeah. So. Well, my colleague Andy Sanders is out there right now in the region and continuing to do the work that you saw the benefit from. So if there are any companies out there looking to explore it, we'd definitely like them to get in contact.
We'll be putting the links to both IDS and VeUP in the chat, and when the clips come out, we will also share that. But are there any lasting comments you want to discuss for our listeners? So I'll ask Nick first. Yeah. Any final?
So I would just say, look, don't get too down on all the rule changes and what it's going to do. You've take it as an opportunity to broaden your horizons, right?
Yeah.
If the market's not going to be here, it's going to be too competitive, it's going to be too hard, there's not going to be the profit margins. There is other markets, and then they're more easily accessible than you'd believe. And speak to people like VeUP to introduce you to those. Speak to IDS if you want advice on what our experience is. It's free.
The one thing I would say is we are looking at running future cohorts and doing things like this. So if people do want to get in contact with us and start to explore and learn a bit more about the region with people who actually had feet on the ground, then we'd definitely welcome it.
And through my Mr. Bobble channels and everything on LinkedIn, I'm actually documenting my process of everything, so you'll probably hear more and see more clips of me and Nick and Shay of my tech startup. And as we really take it to the next level over the next 6 months, you'll see a lot more clips behind it, so maybe a future case study of how we've done it all brought together. I want to thank you both for joining me. We turned this around very quickly, considering we were only in Dubai together 3 weeks ago. But we just saw the opportunity of being able to let's get this information out there, what we've learned. So I really appreciate you guys jumping on board. So thank you to Shay and to Nick for joining me. And again, thank you for listening. Hope you found that informational, educational. All the links will be available. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and follow with me on social media at Mr. Bobble Official. James has been quiet on this one. He did have a mic, but he's not had much to say. But
I've been listening and learning.
He's been listening and learning. But we'll definitely catch you guys on the next one. We've got some really exciting guests coming up and some really exciting talks just before we finish for the end of year. So thank you for joining us. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.